Yeah, we are.
Welcome, Erin Snow. So Erin and Dr. Rob are going to be alternating on the Monday night webinar. So you're going to get even more insights and inspiration, I hope, and hope, really, honestly. I often say that our resources are a lifeline for people. So please understand that Erin works directly with the clients who are in our residential program. She is very much involved in this work. She and our expert staff make a difference in people's lives, and this is your opportunity to ask her questions. So we're going to get started. Erin, the first question is, um, well, this is really like I'm wondering why Dr. Rob does not promote polygraphs. I will actually pull the information. The American Psychological Association does not recommend them. There's no protocol. There's no efficacy. I did a lot of research on that. We've talked about this on other recent webinars as well. But I will pull it and put it in the chat. But Erin, thoughts on that?
Yeah. And I'll say we work with a lot of clinicians, CSATs that do, some that don't, and I am not knocking on anyone's practice. What I will say is that from obviously Dr. Rob's perspective, but I'll say from my perspective, working in treatment, not that long ago. I mean, we had a gentleman come in who had been sober for almost 2 years, but he was coming in because the disclosure was ended in a polygraph where the exact same questions were asked by two different polygraphers, exact same questions. It was like, I want to say several days apart, and one was a fail and one was a pass, same questions, nothing had changed. And for him, it was really a rock and a hard place. And I think what was hard for me was the barometer of trust was all really put into this bucket that was the polygraph. And so even though kind of his life was showing a lot of steps forward, it was this, but this one failed. And that's incredibly rare, but we see it. I mean, this guy, I didn't know how to really address this because he said, I don't know how else to say that I'm telling the truth, except for I was freaking nervous. I was so scared. But the same questions, two polygraphers exactly like several days apart, and one was a fail and one was a pass. And what do you do with that information? Go to a third. We've seen many cases where the same results were read by multiple people and multiple people saw it very differently. And so when it's such a huge, um, it is such a huge decision to make when you're coming out of a disclosure and everything's kind of being put on this thing that has shown to have a lot of error. And that to me is hard to see both partners are heartbroken or struggling with this. There's no resolution to it. Where do you go from there? So anyways, it just comes down to the fact that they're not accurate. A lot of the time they're not accurate. We have guys that come into treatment are like, I'm so terrified for this part of disclosure because I have every intention of telling the truth, but I'm so scared of getting a fail when it's not a fail. We've had guys also that have come in and straight up right from the get-go tell us that they lied through their polygraph and they passed. So anyways, it's hard because you do want, especially when you've been through betrayal and you want some kind of, you've lost intuition. They've gaslit you. They've lied to you. I want something that says, I know. And when you can't get that, I can understand where it's challenging. I just encourage that the barometer of trust shifts to behaviors and what that looks like in recovery. But yeah, that's my perspective. Like that's what I've seen. But Dr. Rob has a whole lot more on this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but to your point, and it's rare. It's not rare. I get lots of calls and emails. It measures stress, not truth. And so, someone who, like, I had a guy who called me, and he was getting ready to do a polygraph, and he has anxiety disorder. And I was like, but I gave him all the information. He said my wife insists on it, and he called me after, and he said I failed, and like I was like, I knew you were going to fail because it's anxiety. It's not about truth. And, he was just in tears because he's like, I'm telling the truth, but I was so anxious. Like, well, of course. And like you said, to base your entire relationship on technology that is, fraught
Faulty.
with, yeah, it's faulty, but also there is no protocol. So, so I heard you saying two polygraphs, same questions, but there are questions that even the Polygraph Association says don't ask, and those get asked all the time, during these kind of mental health ones. So there's reasons they aren't used in court. Can they be, sort of helpful on certain situations? Sure, but wow, like you said, to base your going forward in a relationship on something like that, I agree with you. Actions really are more helpful. So okay, so the next question, Erin, is anonymous attendee. D-Day was 2.5 months ago, and it was horrible for me.
Yeah.
However, my partner immediately came clean, shared and answered everything I asked, and he even volunteered much more info than I was certainly not expecting. No idea it was to that extent. More than 100 anonymous flings, though none were affairs. He's never gotten angry with questions or hurt or anger. He introduced me to software that blocks porn and hookup sites immediately. He's in your group therapy. So when they're saying that, it's probably an online work group, because we do not have group therapy, but we do have online work groups like Sex Addiction 101 starts again on February 1st. And so those are psychoeducation, 90 minutes per week online. Guys from all over the world participate. They're on Seeking Integrity. So probably referring to that. So lots of progress, but I sometimes think my essay husband is watching images or texting with someone right in front of me. I can't see the screen in its entirety, so I don't know for sure. Sometimes I feel I may be paranoid, but I have a terrible feeling if he is doing this. Is this typical, and what is going on in my mind to think this is okay to do? So I'm having trouble. I don't know if all three of these go together. I still struggle with doubt and trust, though he's not done anything I'm aware of. Is it a problem that I'm getting angry? I kind of think 1 and 3 go together. I kind of think 2 might not, but what are your thoughts?
I think
Because I
one,
feel like lots of progress, but I struggle with doubt and trust.
yeah, I think 1 and 3, and then I think it's all the
Okay,
same person though. Um, I sometimes think that,
let's take
maybe
1
not.
and 3 and take two out of it. Take 1 and 3, talk about that.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
been
So
2.5 months,
he's in a
and
work group, lots of progress, but I still struggle with doubt and trust, though he's done anything. There hasn't done anything I'm aware of. Is it a problem? I have trouble. Is it a problem? I have trouble getting angry. Um, okay, well, there's a few different things happening here. So one is struggling with doubt and trust. 100% normal. Yeah. You entered into a relationship, I would say like a contract, right? Where we're going to be monogamous towards one another, if that's the decision that the two of you had made. And finding out that that wasn't true on that scale, 100 potential like anonymous hookups. And this is 2.5 months ago. You are still very much in a PTSD brain. Your brain is still waiting for that other shoe to drop. And I'm glad and I'm grateful that he is showing, at least at this stage, the willingness to answer questions, to not be reactive and defensive, to engage in some form of recovery. It sounds like he's offered the filtering software. So all signs point to he's making some steps in the right direction. But it's going to take your heart and mind time to heal. So you absolutely are, more than in a safe space right now to feel doubting, untrusting, questioning, paranoid at times. You trust your own judgment when what you think is happening is actually happening. When what you think is happening is not happening, it causes some serious questioning in our own mental headspace. So doubt and trust is going to be a thing for a minute. And I encourage you in those moments. And I'm trying to remove question 2 out of here.
yeah.
Okay. So the last question you said, is it a problem that I have trouble getting angry? No.
And no, I almost wonder about this. I'm not angry, like shut down, rather than I'm getting angry, rather than I'm angry. I'm not sure. Can you answer both ways, please?
Yeah. So is it a problem I have trouble getting angry? Okay, so let's just say the first way would be I have a hard time like feeling anger over this. Um, no, that's not a problem. But if you're feeling like I have a hard time even holding this space to allow myself to have feelings, I to share, okay, yes, he's doing X, Y, and Z. You still have every right to say, God, I am in so much pain still. And there's ways to express that that don't have to be I'm angry and raging and I'm throwing things, right? It can be, I'm really struggling right now. Can you hold some space for me to really share what those feelings are? And it's saying I trusted you. I feel like I don't know where this relationship stands some days. Other days I'm so proud of the steps you're taking and how honest you were. And sometimes I struggle with feeling safe, whatever those things are. Yes, share them. It doesn't have to be anger. I think some people think that anger gives you like the clue that you respect yourself and that um you're holding your ground. And some people feel like they need anger to just have the courage to do so. And so I'm not sure if it's that is it a problem that you're having trouble getting angry? I think that I would have a concern if you're finding yourself not upset, but not feeling this was an insane betrayal of your trust and the unity of your relationship, right? If you're struggling with that, I would say, yeah, let's dig a little bit deeper into what your values are and what your rights are and how much you value what you bring to this relationship and how you show up for your partner. Um, but in terms of the emotions of it all, you're going to feel all kinds of things. You don't have to feel anger to feel justified in moving forward. You may see a lot of examples out there of women expressing anger, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So don't judge how it is that you're processing and moving through this. But I would say, I guess I would love if I could just a tiny bit of clarity on what the anger piece is for you. Um, but I hope that answers some of it. There's no wrong feelings here at all. I mean, it's how you go about expressing it and setting boundaries and moving through it.
So I'm going to really encourage you to get STD tested. Please, like, don't go,
Oh
oh, well,
yeah.
he's been tested and whatever, unless you were there and got the results. Because, like this is one of those things you really can do for your own personal safety. I might put in the chat, our online work group for betrayed partners starts on the 19th of February. So on seekingintegrity.com, you'll see that particular work group. And that is about healthy boundaries, communication, like all of the things, with all due respect, 2.5 months ago, glad he's doing some work. But on the other hand, like that is so early in the process. And you got, as I call it, the vomit disclosure, where everything got dumped on you. You had no support, you had no filtering, there was no compiled, like a formal therapeutic disclosure is probably the most discussed topic on the peer case consultation group that Erin and Dr. Rob co-facilitate with other therapists who are trained to do this work. So there's a whole process in getting the information together and gathering it so that it's in a way, and having the partner have support that helps. But yeah, you had discovery and disclosure on a DIY basis. So I honestly was thinking, and I don't know if I'm was on track with that you're shut down with anger, but I could see you being, shell shocked, like Erin said, the
Sure.
PTSD, and just being, like I can't even imagine. So I honor that he's starting to do the work. Our work groups are great, and those are not enough. So we have drop-in groups on the same platform. There are drop-in groups for each of you separately, and there's multiple opportunities. We have links to 12-step groups. There's lots of different 12-step groups. Scott and I will be doing a webinar on next week, Wednesday, talking about the different 12-step groups and how to find one and how to, pick a healthy one. And just like, we're really pro 12-step, and it was like, we need a primer on this. And so we're going to talk about it. So join us on, for that as well. But if you don't have qualified professionals, and this is qualified professionals rather than a generalist therapist, email me, Tammy, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com. Tell me where you're located, and I'll do my best to help you find qualified professionals to help support the process. So the biggest thing is I want you to know there's hope. There's lots of people that, navigate this and find healing. And, you could have a better relationship than you ever had, when he's lying to himself and everyone else, including you. So if he does the work, you guys can be in a very different, good place. So I'm so glad you're here, and I hope he's watching too, but the video will be posted. So, okay, Erin, so now we're going to do the middle one. I sometimes think my SA husband is watching images or texting with someone right in front of me. I can't see the screen in its entirety, so I don't know for sure. Sometimes I feel like I may be paranoid, but I have this terrible feeling. If he's doing this, is this typical, and what could be going on in his mind to think that this is okay to do this?
Well, it would be hard for us to know what he's doing. However, what it calls up for me is that you're feeling discomfort. You're sitting in a room with him, he's on his phone, you have a ton of trauma, I imagine, around this exact thing. So a couple things come up for me. If you're feeling that, A, it's okay to ask. Secondly, it's okay to say, I'm really uncomfortable right now because and you can even say, based on our history, it makes me uncomfortable when we're sitting together and you're kind of texting and the screen's facing the other way and you're looking around, and that doesn't make me feel safe right now. You can have conversations when you are not even in that space. So let's say it's the next day, you guys are okay, you're talking. You can say, you know what, last night it was really challenging for me because I had these stories within me come up because of our history that were telling me that maybe you are texting or watching images on your phone when I'm right there in the same room. It would make me feel more comfortable if you would not have your phone on when we're spending time together, or have your phone on the table. Um, Having a filtering software on phones, I think that's another safe way to go around it. There's several out there. And I think also, is it common for someone that's not in recovery? Is that out of the question? No, it happens. It absolutely happens. For a man that's in recovery, actively engaged in recovery, that would be absolutely unacceptable behavior. That would be relapse slip behavior right there. So no, paranoia, call it trauma mind, right? My mind has been traumatized. I've been in this situation so many times. I don't know in my mind what feels real and not, because I don't often feel safe. So creating a safe container with him by asking for what it is that you need to feel safer. If that's, again, the phone out of the way, if that is, I need to be able to ask you to see your phone every now and again when I'm having these thoughts and feelings, it depends. Whatever is in your relationship that works. But I think you're not going crazy, okay? And it's okay to say, I'm scared and I don't feel safe right now. Can we discuss this? And if they're defensive, and like, that's not recovery behavior either. So yeah, there's a number of different ways to deal with it. I would say the best scenario would be to sit down when you're not in the situation and create an actual plan for moments like this. There are moments when that fear comes up and we're in a room together and I'm seeing you on your phone. It would make me feel really safe if in those times I can ask you and you could just turn your phone around and give me some reassurance in that moment. There's a lot of different things you can do, but I do think sitting down and actually talking about it, and instead of in your mind kind of harboring all the thoughts that it could be, would be a way forward.
And unfortunately, this does happen. I just was talking to somebody earlier today, and this does happen. And even if it's like TikTok and Instagram and things, like we call it non-porn porn, but it's still, enticing images or whatever. It's things that people in recovery, would not be choosing to participate in. But yeah, I was thinking, like Erin said too, it's like there's a disconnect because you guys are spending time together and he's on his technology. So if the goal is to work on the relationship, what does that look like? So but I do think I know betrayed partners feel like they can't trust their gut because they've been lied to, gaslit, and everything else. But trust your gut, on this. And I just put a link. There's a good blog on filtering software, we suggest those. Blocks are great for kids, although kids are so
Mm,
technologically savvy, maybe not so much anymore. But the blocks, lots of addicts will game around them. And here's the deal: all a filter is giving you an opportunity to think, do I really want my peer support or my therapist, to see this report and have to explain it? Any addict can get around whatever it is they're doing. We hear, on children's, tablets, etc. So it really is, for someone on a recovery journey, they are willing to help put in place measures that will help them take a moment and just go, nope, that's not what I'm going to choose to do here. So but yeah, trust your gut on that. But I love what Erin said, like, have the conversation for my safety. I would really appreciate it if you do that. That's really telling. And like, kind of going back to the, what are their actions doing? If they're looking to do things that are helpful and creating safety, great.
yeah.
Okay, Erin, the next one: separated 2 years, CSCSAT men's group as well. How do I support my wife's trauma and questions, anger, etc., while still looking after myself? Sometimes I feel attacked and try to be strong, but it can get hard at times.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say, um, okay, separated for 2 years. Yeah. So one of the techniques that we give our guys in treatment is called AVR. Um, Carol Jurgensen Sheets came up with it. It's simple, and I really think that especially in those really high emotion times, it's important to have a technique, because if you don't, oftentimes that you can take that emotion personally. It can start a shame spiral. It makes it difficult, right, to hold that a lot of the time, especially when you feel like I'm in recovery, I'm trying to do the next right thing. AVR is amazing because it's 3 steps. Acknowledgement, you're just basically saying, you know, I acknowledge that I caused the pain that you're feeling. That this is real. You're saying this pain is real for you. What you're expressing, I've been a part of this. The V is validation. You're pointing out one of 5 feelings. Okay. You're saying, I can see you're angry right now. I can see you're sad right now. And the R is reassurance. And the reassurance, by the way, you can only use this if you're in recovery. And it sounds like you are. I'm going to go with that assumption. The reassurance is, basically you're not giving any promises. Everything's going to be better. I got this. We're going to move forward. It's all I can do is show you one day at a time that I'm going to show up and do recovery and be the best man that I can to help you heal. And those 3 steps, it seems to be a way for you to hold an emotional container. I always tell our guys, like, literally put your hands out like this. That's your job. Your job is when they're feeling and they're emoting. Obviously, there's boundaries around toxicity. If you're being screamed at and called names on a daily basis, like, we don't want to make room for that because it's not helpful or productive for either one of you. But you can be an emotional container without taking all the stabs directly to the heart. And what I mean by that is, I'm here, I'm strong enough in this moment to hold this for you. Let me have it. Like, tell me more. What else is going on? That has to be really hard. You're reflecting back and you're holding it, versus when you allow it kind of to come all the way in every time, you kind of do this. And it makes it really difficult for you to stay present. And it makes it really difficult for you to show up in a way that is, I'm in recovery, one day at a time. We're going to keep moving forward. So it is hard, and it's difficult, but at the same time, you did the action. Now's the time to show up for the healing. And in doing so, you can be a really strong kind of emotional support for them, no matter what emotion they're in. If you don't fall down, we have a lot of guys that instantly go into kind of like a victimhood, right? They're laying on the floor. I guess I'm the worst guy ever, and
Mm-hmm.
the second you did that, you cut off her ability to have any feelings at all. You know, you robbed her the opportunity she needed, which was, I just need to express this. It hurts. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm all these things. Oftentimes, when they have that opportunity and it's held in a safe place, that wave can pass through and we can move on to the next. Um, but the more waves that are able to come through and they're healed in the coupleship, that's magic for healing. So keep it up. You're doing a good job.
I put the AVR in the chat so you can
Hey,
take a look at that too, because yeah, it's like all of these recovery things are recovery tips and tricks, and see what works for you. I would really be talking with your CSAT though. 2 years of separation. What is the plan?
right.
For either navigating back together again, or a more permanent separation, because that's limbo for the two of you. So what boxes are looking to be checked, and how are you looking to move forward? And I will say, and this is more just because I'm thinking about it, with that, is we have a moving on alone for betrayed partners group on Thursday afternoons, and we have now added a men's group on Fridays. Hal Stewart is hosting that group.
Mm,
So this is for men who left have been left or are considering leaving. They're in that kind of in between, and it's the process, because many of the drop-in groups on both sides are about how do we heal the relationship. And when there's we really don't know if we are going to, or I want to look at in a safe space and just talk about this, that can be a really safe place to have those discussions and just see, you can go there and still heal the relationship. So there's no commitment. It's just exploring the option. But I'm really proud that we just started that group recently. It had been requested. So now there's both options.
mhm.
Okay. So Erin, the next question is, it's my first session today after having an appointment with my CSAT therapist today. I feel like a weight has been lifted already. My girlfriend discovered my issue about 9 months ago, but I recently understood my addiction issues. How does trust look like moving forward in a relationship? It seems like a very challenging thing to prove to my partner, as her trust in me is broken, and proving things is very difficult, as I've been compulsive liar to cover up my behaviors.
Yeah. Action, period. So when you have been a compulsive liar, the one thing you've lost is that your word means nothing. Um, your word has meant a lot of different things, and not a lot of those things were truthful. So it is action, action, action. I say that action, I mean, trust is built in small moments. It doesn't have to be the overarching, you look at this big thing. It's small moments. It's the moments that you own the little lies. You know what? I said I went to Taco Bell, and I actually went to McDonald's. And I don't know why the hell I did that, but I want to own that with you. And I want to tell you that the truth was I actually went to Taco Bell. Sounds so dumb, but the truth is those tiny moments, the moments where, and the Gottmans talk about that trust being like a marble jar, and every opportunity that arises, no matter how tiny it is, it's an opportunity to either build trust or break trust. You're either adding a marble or you're taking one out. And that's in every area of life. If it's showing up on time when you actually said you were going to be there, it's being reliable, it's being accountable. It's so there is no proving. That word alone is kind of like, proof is in the actions, and those actions take time. It's accountability. Reliability is not just like accuracy one time, it's every time. And so owning when you make a mistake, fessing up, going to the meetings you say you're going to go, showing up to see your CSAT when you say you're going to. Yeah, those are the things that bring trust back online in a relationship. And it takes time, but look at every opportunity as a moment to build or break in the little things. Partially that can be like we just talked about, holding space for their emotions builds trust. You didn't run away. You didn't make it about you. So there's a lot of options, but those tiny moments mean everything, and it's all actions, period. Your words, not so much.
Well, and I was thinking, so there's kind of this phenomena. I feel like a weight has been lifted off of me. And
Right.
kind of like I said, the vomit disclosure a little while ago, and your girlfriend is feeling like I'm covered in stench. But you're going like, I've held this secret, for years or decades. And so like now I've gone, there's an answer, there's help. I can
Right.
be on a different path. Oh, and that is great. And it's wonderful. And as a recovering person, like, yes, but your girlfriend is in a completely different place. She didn't know. And I often say it's like that, with discovery that, they're getting hit by a Mack truck, and now that's their point zero when
Mhm.
you've known for years or decades. So the timeline you're not aligned. You're feeling better and she is not. And, like Erin said, and Dr. Rob says, trust is rebuilt over time and your actions. So, there's bunches of 12-step meetings. There's our drop-in groups, our online work group, for you. Like the more you do, that's action. You will get tools that you'll be able to utilize, to show her. And a lot of it is about, regardless of her, like this is about you doing the work that you need to do so that you can be, a person of integrity. So you can do it. And I'm so glad you're on this path. But really lean into the recovery work and, give her space. If she's open, if she's open to it, you can let her know that there are resources for her on this site as well. Lots of support from betrayed partners. And we do it from a pro-dependent lens, meaning we do not use codependent language, which says you're part of the problem, you're an enabler, you're codependent. We go, gosh, you love somebody who's got some brokenness, and we want to support healthy attachment and healing, for both of you. And it really is possible. So good job showing up at your CSAT today. Good job making an appointment, honestly, and then showing up and being here. So keep it going. And this is not like, oh, now I'm on this recovery journey and life is all zen.
Right.
That ain't life. So
rubber hits the road now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so the next one, Erin, it's a year since discovery. My PA has never been in recovery or even come clean or acknowledged that he has a problem because he watches naked women doing lewd things. I don't want him in the same room as my 19-year-old. He says I'm deluded and that it's just news, not porn, and that he would never even want our son to watch the video. What's up with this mindset? Since June, we have been in an in-house separation. Am I wrong for not wanting my PA in the same room as my son? What would be a good boundary for this? There's no room in our house for my son to move his computer and stuff to.
Are we talking about like cohabitating, like they're in rooms, in home separation? So the husband, or sorry, the father and 19-year-old are roommates?
And yeah, I don't want him in the same room as my 19-year-old. And it sounds like I don't want him in the same room at all, as my 19-year-old, because maybe he's, pulling up technology and looking at these things regardless of who's in the room. So, but the details are, he's a porn addict. He's not acknowledging, but this person, and I'm going to say she, am I wrong for not wanting my PA in the same room as my son? She's very concerned with what this, could influence with her son, what he's going to see and what he's modeling for him. So thoughts beyond the logistics about, even his gaslighting, that he says she's deluded for, it's just news, so thoughts on those aspects.
Yeah. I mean, this is a tough one because typically as the parental unit, the two of you are going to have to set some boundaries and guidelines that you agree to. And you may need to go see somebody to help you come up with those because he's not acknowledging. I mean, so you're saying he's a porn addict, but he's not acknowledging that I have any issues, right? And so therefore he's not even really addressing the risk that potentially could be posed for your 19-year-old. So yeah, I would say that the two of you are going to have to sit down and have a conversation around what those boundaries look like. I always wherever possible, not dragging children, whether they be adults or not, into these adult issues between partners, because we don't know. I don't know what's going on necessarily, if it's around him having technology in the same room as you, if it's they're cohabitating, I don't know. But the bottom line is we do want to protect the 19-year-old, from knowing too much about the chaos and the hurt in the relationship and what that is related to, but to expose him to watching something or seeing something his father's potentially watching, that can be really traumatizing. Yes, he's 19. Yes, he's an adult. Yes, he has had access to watching porn if he wanted to on his own. But there is something very different about, I'm in the room and I look over and my dad's watching porn on his phone. That's really just not cool. So yeah, boundaries definitely do need to be set. I would say around them being in the same room at all, you're going to have to figure out what those lines are for the two of you. And that's really tricky to do without revealing a whole lot to your in-home living child. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
What do you think?
and I
Because
reread
it's
it because it
tricky.
says, and he would even want our son to watch the video. So it's almost like he wants to
He
share it. And we
would?
hear, yeah, that's what I just reread it. And I was like, oh, and he would even want our son to watch the video. So because it's just news. So, and we know lots of guys that come to our, treatment program that have been introduced to porn by their father or uncle or, older sibling, etc. So, yeah, so even people who don't have addiction issues, compulsive behaviors, porn is a challenging one. Now he's 19. And like Erin said, he could have been introduced to it, far younger. Like, I mean, kids under 10, unfortunately, are getting that. And so my whole thing is, okay, he says it's not an issue because it's just the news. And I'm going like, but it is an issue because it's an issue for your relationship. So even let's pretend it's, innocent content, but it's something that you don't want in your home. If he is focused on what is good for the relationship, then that would not be an issue. And if it's not an issue for him, like if this isn't, if he doesn't have a porn addiction, then he can just stop. Like he can stop all of those things because then it's not an addiction. Now there are, and I put the resources in for filtering programs, etc. I'm pretty technologically savvy, but I don't know if you can put that on a whole house and, they may be able to game around it. But at the end of the day, having the discussion of regardless of, what you call it, this is not okay in our house. And therefore, for our relationship and for our safety, and if it's, if you don't think you have a problem, then there's no reason you can't just stop, and honor, our relationship boundaries. So, but I'm going to flip this again. I do this often. So regardless of what he does or doesn't do, healthy boundaries for you are for your safety, your physical safety, emotional safety, financial safety, spiritual safety. What do you need to do to take care of you? I hear in-home separation, but I hear a lot of anxiety and hurt, with this. So besides being on here, which I'm grateful you are, what else are you doing, to take care of you? I mentioned the online work group that starts February 19th. We also have an empowered women's retreat. Again, Erin and I were just there at the one in January, and it was amazing and healing. And one of the comments on the surveys was, I have clarity, I'm there were a lot of great comments, but when this one person shared, I have clarity, and she said, my therapist sees that I look different. Like, that's amazing, and we just were together for a weekend. I know, it was really good. So
don't you think all of them look different by the end of
they
the week?
did. They did. But when you go back and your therapist is like,
yeah,
you look different. Like, it wasn't just us noticing.
there's
It
just
was
like
somebody else. I know, like softness, like,
a
like,
release
yeah,
of
yeah, yes. Yeah. So
and
anyway, there's resources for you to help you regardless of what he does. And your 19-year-old, is launching soon. So will choose his own path, and you taking care of you and modeling, that for him is something that you can do. Okay, can you speak on can you speak on the difficulties and challenges seen in recovery when intimacy anorexia is present in addiction to SA and PA?
yeah. I can use an example, a vague example, of a past client. He had come in and he had been sober for almost double-digit years. And the challenge was the relationship was not moving forward. So in his inner circle, like he was not masturbating, he was not watching porn, obviously he was not engaging in a multitude of behaviors that he had in recovery decided these are not things that I'm going to be doing. But he also was in this place where our marriage isn't moving forward. I'm really struggling. And he felt like, what does healthy sexuality look like anymore? And so we had to have that conversation because he was essentially feeling like, and we get guys all the time that come in, they've actually been sober, but they don't know how to rebuild intimacy, not just sexually, but intimacy in a level of emotional empathy, love and care for somebody, and how do you reintegrate at some point when the healing has begun? So there's a lot of difficulties. There's attachment style. So some of our guys would say, I have an avoidant attachment style. So I the underlying intimacy disorders, like when I begin to get close to somebody, I feel this pressure. I feel like I feel trapped. I have this hard time like opening up. Or if I had this amazing, intimate, emotional evening with my partner, then I feel this retraction. Like I have to contract back into myself because I feel like I'm being absorbed. Um, it's really working on that attachment style and what is the path forward to intimacy. So that can look like a healthy sex plan. That could look like sense it focus, which is a very metered way of reintroducing communication and touch and sensation. And how do you communicate when you're safe in your body or when you're not safe in your body? So intimacy obviously can look like sexual, it can look emotional, it can look either way. Intimacy anorexia is not healthy either, right? We're on two very different ends of the spectrum. And our goal would be for you to be in a healthy intimacy. So there's a number of different ways to achieve that. But I would say the difficulty and challenges that leads to it is oftentimes based in some kind of either A, trauma, or B, attachment disorder. And so therapy is a great way to explore that.
Yeah, I was thinking fear too, because it's like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like I'm just like, I mean, particularly for addicts who like it's always been tied to, you know, this other now, like I need to be intimate with my partner, and we now like, I mean, like it's kind of scary. So I love the sensate focus. We share that often because it's like you start incrementally, you know, and you talk about it, like, which is like another terrifying thing. It's like, oh, you talk about you know,
Yeah.
like that is foreign for so many, you know, couples, and so having the ability to just do that. So if there's good recovery, there are therapists that specialize in this that understand addiction, and so so that, you know, if you're working with a CSAT trained therapist and you're at this point and you need some help and they're not a qualified, you know, sex therapist, they can help you find someone, and I'm always happy to help as well. But like there's many reasons, and at some point, like like, you know, if we're all tripping in our heads about like, oh, you know, like at some point it is, like Erin said earlier, it's action. How do we start to move things forward in a different way? So, and if you've got two willing people, then, you know, at some point, like if the goal is to be in a healthy relationship and you want, you know, physical connection, you know, you got to start somewhere. So,
Yeah. You know, I was just thinking the opposite of, you know, oftentimes, especially when an addict gets sober, you're right. Fear is a huge factor. And I'm afraid to look at or touch anything. Right. And so it goes to almost this like sterility place where the goal would be not asexuality, the goal is healthy sexuality. And so sometimes if there's a period of abstinence and you're really solid in your recovery, you're absolutely right. It's like, what are the steps back to intimacy and healthy sex? What does that look like in my life? Because that is a challenge, certainly.
yeah. And with some people, you know, like Dr. Rob has shared this before too. It's like some people, they go, yes, I've been, you know, sober and, you know, from as an SA for 15 years, and they haven't had a relationship or sex in 15 years. They haven't even had a relationship. And like you said, with chemicals, it's abstinence, you know, that is, you know, but with eating disorders, you know, gosh, you can't be abstinent, you know, like that doesn't work. So,
Right.
and same with sex, you know, it's like with, you know, like even with shopping, it's like, you know, you got to learn to have a healthy relationship with the problematic behaviors so that you can come out the other side of it. So, so I think it's really important to be willing to, you know, all of this is be willing to do the work, and, you know, and there are, you know, and if something doesn't work, guess what? Try something else. There will be something, you know, that helps. Okay. Can you speak to the fact that we have choices and we can radically accept our situations and narcissistic traits of our spouse and live our best life in spite of this? We just talked about this at the Empowered
Love
Women's
whoever
Retreat.
you are.
Yes, yes.
No, this is yes, I can speak to that. Here's the thing, and sometimes this conversation gets a bad rap for like, well, you know, we're not allowed to be mad. Yes, you are. However, and this is from my own story, from the stories of many of the women that we've worked with, I have been hurt and I am devastated, and it has taken up so much headspace, and moving forward is really scary. But also, I am choosing not to allow the pain of what this person has chose to do to steal my joy every day for the rest of my life. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I am going to take control back of my life and who is allowed in my life and the choices that I'm going to make in terms of my support system. And what am I going to do to feel good about myself again and learn to trust myself and take care of myself again? Because the truth is, you cannot control what is going to be happening. They're either going to get into recovery or they're not. They're either going to get help or they're not. But you doing your own work is not it. It's, I hear often, it's like, well, he's the one who screwed up. Why the hell should I have to do any of the work? Because the work is actually in spite of that. It's like, I get to choose that you are not going to control the way I feel about myself. You're not going to control the way that I wake up every day. I am going to take control of those things. I'm going to set healthy boundaries so you know exactly what my expectations are for you and your the way you treat me, the way you show up in recovery, what I will and will not allow. But I am going to stand on my own empowered 2 feet and do some healing so that I can make an informed decision about what do I want to do next. What is it that I want to do next? And yes, I have had, we had a woman that was like, I can't leave. I have a small child. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I can't leave. And we said, okay, so what does it look like? What can you do? And it was an in-home separation. And I'm like, hey, co-parent and live your best freaking life from the other room. Like, what does that look like? What do you want to do and own and feel? And so we did so much work around this at the retreat, and women who came in feeling like that wasn't possible for them left feeling completely in their bodies and empowered to make choices and decisions for themselves, even when they felt stuck. You don't have control over this right here. You don't. And I hope and I pray and I have boundaries around you getting well. But if you choose not to, that's on you. Yeah. So yes, I can speak to it. Thanks for bringing it up, whoever you are out there.
Well, and I've shared because Debbie Allen, who does co-host the Wednesday
Yeah.
Betrayed Partner Group, did a really good webinar on a 3-circle plan for betrayed partners. And she said the inner circle for betrayed partners could include having focus on the addict's behaviors and what they're doing and not doing. And that it steals all the joy. All of your focus is now on that person, and like, if he's doing better, then I'm okay. But if he's not, I'm not. Like, I love what you're talking about of being empowered, regardless of what that person chooses to do. I'm choosing to take care of me. So,
Absolutely.
Okay, the next one. Oh, this is a good one. Part of me is scared to have a session with Dr. Rob. I guess I am uncomfortable not knowing the outcome. Any suggestions?
Is this like a support session?
No, I think this is an expert consultation. So yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are, so here's the thing, the outcome of not getting help. So how's that working for you? And I'm not being snarky, but I'm going like, nothing changes if nothing changes. And Dr. Rob, like, he's not mean in these. He said one time to me, and I thought this was good. He was like, I'm like a radiologist. Like, I'm reading the x-ray. So the couple is coming to him and they're sharing their x-ray, and he's looking at it and going, oh, that one needs a splint, that one needs a cast, and that one needs surgery, but identifying what the issues are. One couple shared with me that they'd been to 4 different therapists in 2 years and no one was able to identify their issues, and Dr. Rob was able to do that and give them guidance for moving forward. And I stayed in touch with them. They're doing good. They got put on a path that was helping to move them forward. So I just shared with somebody else today. I have a little thing on my computer fear is false evidence appears real. And so the story I'm making up in my head that it's going to be so horrible and scary, um, but that will keep me from finding out what I really need to do to move forward in a different way. So I have another one that says stuck, and I shared that with somebody else today. But it's like sometimes we're stuck because we want to be. Like you get comfortable in that muck and mire, So I would invite you to not get stuck and to be willing. Like no one has died on his consultations. Everybody has come through it, and a lot of people with a lot more information and validation and guidance and hope. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, suggestion, be honest.
Yeah. Yes. That's key to all this.
Just be honest. I think he's been I love that man. He is direct. He will say it like it is. He is not afraid to say what is directly in front of him. But I also don't see him telling people they need to do something that they don't need to do. Like he's pretty laser focused. I have seen him cut through some serious BS in a room. Just be honest, because I'll tell you, the only place you will see Dr. Rob get really direct with you is when he sees complete denial, and then he sees a partner sitting next to you that is in tears and weeping, and the addict is over here, like, you'll see Dr. Rob really come at you for that. So I would just say, be honest and be receptive and be open. You're going to get expert advice. He has it, but you got to be open.
Well, here's one more little hint. Erin does a consultation. Hers are 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And so she does them. So there are options with these, and we are happy to help, with either of those. And you will get really solid guidance from Erin as well. So
yeah, happy to help. Certainly, but don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a follow-up. I'm very early in the process, but ultimately I don't want to lie and hide things anymore. I've lost friends due to my infidelity and feel very alone sometimes. People don't understand that I never wanted to hurt my partner, and it felt awful and dirty and shameful. I'd love to be able to share some of my struggles sometime with family and friends so they can help support me, but it's such a shameful topic and not everyone reacts positively. How do people deal with this? Share with only a small group? Not share at all and just their partner? I'm the one who cheated online with porn and anonymous partners, to be clear.
Yeah, you do have to find your village, and you do have to be selective of who you have on that inner circle of trust, because you're right. This is a highly stigmatized compulsive sexual behavior is not the same now as going out and saying, I'm sober, I stopped drinking. People are proud of me. I'd be like, I'm in recovery. People are like, good for you. That's really awesome. Sex addiction hasn't found its place yet in society where that's just across the board. People are like, that's amazing. Good for you. Because it's not as well as it's not understood as well. So you have to be selective with who you let in, but you do need to find your people. I would say a meeting is going to be the number one way you're going to walk in and immediately feel like you've got a group around you that's not judging you, that it understands what it feels like to feel that shame, and that this isn't who I wanted to be. And I don't know how I got here. You will have that group of support around you. But yes, family and friends, just be selective. You don't want to you want to add to your recovery support bucket, not take away from it. And not everybody is in a place in their level of consciousness or education or awareness where they can hold that type of story for somebody else. But yeah, pick a small select group and get to meetings. That's where everybody in that room can say, I got you. I understand. You're not alone.
Yeah. And I put the 12-step, there's a lot of 12 steps. And I mentioned earlier, Scott and I will be doing a webinar next Wednesday. So the Wednesday, the 7th of February, I think. We'll check. But and then there's also our online drop-in groups. And you can always tell more, but you can't take back. And so I'm doing some work for the betterment of myself. I've had some personal struggles. I need, I'm working on my integrity, all of those things, and people don't need to know the details. You can let them know that there's been struggles and I'm working on myself, and there's more. But like our drop-in groups, again, safe space to talk to people about that. There are some friends that that really can hold that, but I think you'll know, and you can always tell more. So Dr. Rob talks about, like, do you want to be at the Thanksgiving table and have everybody be, wondering? It's very uncomfortable, and it doesn't help. So
Yeah.
Be prudent with who you tell, but do lean into the support. It's really key, to not be doing this alone. So,
Yeah.
and speaking of that, the next one is, I feel so alone that I can't share my daily struggles.
And this may have been a continuation from above, because it says, I also feel.
Mm-hmm.
We had so many, so in terms of betrayed partners, so many women felt that same way, that shame, like, I belong to a church, and I can't believe that this is like, the community doesn't know this about us. I'm harboring his secret or our secret, and I don't know who I can talk to. But it's so important. Yeah. Uh, our platform, honestly, when I came on to Seeking Integrity, I was blown away by how much we offered out there that was just free. And so drop-in groups, but work groups are another way just to like dive a level deeper with the same group of people. But to know that there's something literally every day, multiple times a day, to be able to go and share those struggles in a room full of people that is in that boat with you, in that camp with you, so important to healing. So I don't want you to feel alone. You're not alone. You are not alone.
Yeah, and there, I'm going to put a quick plug in for We Tonglen. I'll put it in the chat. This is for partners. It's only for partners, and it's only for females. But .com. That is a betrayed partner community of women, and with that, like everything, take what you need and leave the rest. You will find people in all parts of the journey, but you are not alone. I mean, I have people that when they call, like they recognize my voice because they've listened to a podcast, they've been on whatever, and you
You're
know
a
what? Like,
celebrity,
well,
Tammy.
I'm not a celebrity, but like,
Yes,
if I
you
can
are.
be part of, like, hey, we gotcha, like, you're not alone. I want people to know, addict or betrayed partner, you are not alone. You feel like you're alone, and that isolation is painful, but you don't have to be. If you just reach out, we gotcha.
Yeah,
So the next one, Erin, this is a great way to end.
I love
We
it.
are allowed self-esteem. Newsflash, this is one person, and we don't have to screw up our entire life over one person. So
Atara, I don't know who you are, but I love you. Thank you for that. What a beautiful note to go out on. No, yes, you absolutely are. You are. You are worthy. You did not cause this. You did not bring this on yourself. You are beautiful, and you have choice, and you can be empowered. And there is so much hope and love out there for you. Yeah.
Yes, we
Thank you.
gotcha. We gotcha.
Gotcha.
Erin, thank you so much. It was great working with you tonight, and Erin will be
You
back in
too,
2 weeks.
Tam.
So remember, alternating Dr.
Yes.
Rob, Erin, Dr. Rob, Erin. So we're here. So, all right. Bye,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Have a great evening.